Hello?
Hello, hello. This is Jeanine.
This is she.
What's up? It's Nash.
Hi, Nash. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you so much for talking with me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So, I know I'm super excited. When I saw you guys releasing new music, I was super hyped. So, one of
I
my.
don't know if you're as hype as we are, though. I
Oh.
mean, it might be a tough competition.
Your music was pretty important when I was growing up. Y'all released songs when I was, in elementary school, and now I'm in college, so, crazy
That's so crazy.
to
It's
see you
it's
guys.
honestly unreal to think about how long it's been since our last release, or even our first one.
Okay. So, tell me fun fact about you.
Oh man, I am Nash Overstreet from Hot Shell Ray, and a fun fact about me is, I mean, let's define what fun is first. No, I don't know. That I'm really accidentally good at basketball, but only
Okay.
by accident. I've got my magic moments where I'll think something, no effort, and then I could never do it again.
Now we have an icebreaker that we ask everyone. It's a very weird question, but not really. It was at our orientation, so we put it in here. If you could be any utensil in the kitchen, what would you be and why?
I would be an extremely sharp knife because there's nothing more annoying than being in a kitchen with a bunch of whack knives that don't cut anything.
I love it. If you didn't become a musician, what would you be doing?
That's always been such a weird question to me because if I didn't become a musician, I was surrounded by music. Like my dad was a songwriter and an artist, and my mom was a hairstylist. So the people she worked with were also musicians most of the time, and it's really hard for me to imagine something else when that's kind of all I've ever known. But it would be something creative, whether that means a hairdresser or a clothing designer or something where I kind of invented a thing or a moment or crafted something. So still in the same realm of the world of music.
I love that. I love how it shows how connected and important music is. Normally when I ask this question, I like to think about how music's impacted my life, and I stopped playing an instrument because college, but I get to talk to pretty cool people because of it. So
Well, what was the instrument you played?
I played trumpet.
Okay, that. That is something I cannot even imagine trying. It seems I can't figure out by looking at a trumpet how it even works.
And it was one of those in fourth grade, you sit in and you take the band test to see if you're competent enough, and then they were like, "Here you go, this one's yours," and it was my baby. And
Well, maybe you'll have to hop on stage with us and
oh,
do a trumpet solo.
imagine. So, tell me a little bit about your instrument and why you picked.
Ooh, my instrument is a very um, loaded subject because I play guitar in the band
Mm-hmm.
when we're on stage, but in the studio I kind of will mess around with whatever. So it could be a piano part that I'm coming up with, guitar or bass, and my first instrument ever was drums. So a lot of the production I do for other people and as well as the band's music, I'm very drum minded. So I love just the whole process of creating a record, from making the drum beat to the guitar parts or the synth parts or whatever. But yeah, the guitar kind of was happening while I was playing drums and learning all of them at once. But I fell into it being my main thing because I got an audition for this band. It was doing a Disney show, and they had five drummers auditioning, and they asked if I knew any guitar players, and I was like, I'm not taking these odds of going up against five other drummers. You need a guitar player? I'll just be the guitar player. So I weaseled my way in there, and then I was kind of just in that role from then on.
Nice. What type of guitar do you have, or your favorite one?
I have I have a stack of guitars, and half of them I can't remember what's in what case, but my favorite guitar is this custom shop Guild Electric, which they don't make anymore. They barely made any of them when they did, but it just is my baby. It's like the best playing, the best looking. It's super unique. Just all around, like, it was a really lucky find for me.
I feel like instruments are an extension of yourself. Like I have my trumpet was a Bach Stradivarius, and it was like my child. Like so, I definitely understand the attachment to like different instruments and kind of how they go.
Oh yeah, when I was in, like, I don't know, grade school, I would absolutely fall asleep like holding guitar. Like I would practice or like mess around until I was absolutely passed out, and sometimes it would end up on the floor, and I'd be like, "Oh, my bad. Let's just make sure it's not broken."
Yep, yep. And then like if it stopped working for some reason, it's like, oh my god, what did I do wrong?
Yeah, it's that's why they got the music shops. Take it in and be like, "Look, do the magic, and then make this work again." I started really picking up stuff that either artists excited me by, like when John Mayer came out, I learned a ton of acoustic guitar stuff. And like when Lenny Kravitz was having a moment, like I learned his electric stuff, and I would just like pick up stuff that was exciting to me. But also I picked up a lot of flack for people who moved out of town growing up. So, I'd be kind of okay at something and I have to get good really fast because the bass player moved away or the acoustic player moved away, etc.
You mentioned you also did a lot with synth sounds. I noticed that on your new track. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I've been I've been producing since I was like 15, but as like a professional level for the last, 6 years or so. And I don't know, I get more excited when I can produce and be free from the confines of like having to use certain instruments. So there's a ton of records where I'll just end up, it'll be synths and 808s only, or, just a piano or just a guitar, and any combination of all that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and the vibe was just so nice on that. It was really nice to listen to, and it seemed fun and funky.
I'm glad you like it.
So can you tell me the story behind it?
For I Hate LA?
Yep.
I Hate LA was like kind of just a spitballed session of like Ryan came in with this idea of the first couple of lines, and then we were talking, and there'd been some like relationship ups and downs and all that mess going on, and the concept just hit us of when you're in a town or a city or a place and bad stuff is happening in your life, it kind of makes that place take on that. And he was like, man, it would just be so shitty to have this kind of linger and, have that representation. And then everything got fixed in the relationship and like everything was all good now. And it really has that like timeline in the song where it's, like this city sucks because everything reminds me of you, and whatever's bad about it's kind of like exponentially bad. And then, oh, you moved? I'm kind of loving it. And I think we've all been there in like some way or form.
It was super relatable, and it kind of reminded me of like that bridge where like when you listen to a song that someone showed you and you're no longer together, and then you just think of them with the song, but this time it's like the physical manifestation of a place. It hit hard.
Yeah, it's crazy how people can attach to things and like they represent that to you, and you've got to either deal with it or you've got to avoid that thing, or it's just never the same once an emotion or a relationship has kind of been involved.
So what is the writing process like for you guys?
It's really, really varied. We have been writing all of this project since coming back together as all three of us in the band, which originally it was just Ryan and I doing almost all of the writing. And Jamie wrote on all of Ryan's country solo record in between while we were on break with the band, and like just came up quick and got some chops. And so now the three of us have, done like I Hit LA, and then we brought a friend of ours in from literally growing up in Nashville. Like my parents and his parents were high school friends. So the four of us did the record on I Hit LA. Like there's other records we collaborate with on 3 other people get brought in. There's people that come in like halfway. So it really just every day is exciting because it's always something different. It's always in a different place. Like whether it's a living room or a studio or hiking, you can kind of start the inspiration at least anywhere, which is great.
I love that. And I think that's so true how it's so varied. But everyone gets inspiration from different things, and it relates to what you guys want to put out. So, for your new record, can you describe the sound for me in 3 words?
Yeah, it's definitely a very evolved sound. So 3 words, I would say guitars and 808. It's got definitely some like, some fun, boppiness, good beats, our melodic tendencies and lyrical craziness, and then sprinkling in some guitar or piano parts on top of that, and we're just kind of like playing around and seeing what excites us and keeping it fresh.
What's your favorite either lyric, riff, or drum part or synth part that you've written? Like, what track is it on?
Ooh, favorite part I've written. I have not been asked that. That's super interesting. I think the 808 part for I Hate LA.
Nice.
It's kind of weird. It's weird pitch bendy stuff, and it just like hits really hard.
Definitely does. It was so interesting to listen to. Like, I love listening to the different parts of the layering of a track and how it goes so well with lyrics. It's like what I've been doing lately. It's really awesome.
That's awesome. I love like creating space and hopefully making it so you can kind of hear everything that's in the track. So I'm glad I hit you.
Amazing. Can you tell me what is the weirdest or funniest question you've ever been asked in an interview?
Oh, I don't think it really was a question as much as my answer, but I just watched this interview with Third Eye Blind where they kind of like made fun of themselves and wouldn't give a straight answer, and it was just like a weird, awkward interview that they kind of turned into this ridiculous thing. So I'd just seen this, and this girl asked me like kind of like some very mundane, boring question, and my answer, I gave some like crazy, like literally, something to do with trying to book a trip to go see Venus. So she took that seriously and just kept the lines of questions going off of me having gone to Venus.
Oh my god.
And I was just like, oh no, what have I done? Like, this is literally the worst move because now the whole thing is screwed. So maybe it wasn't the right call on my part, but it definitely made it get interesting.
Okay, so we have a question that we've been asking everyone, which is kind of out there, but not really. It's very relevant. So our question is, what is your opinion of releasing an artist's unreleased music after they've passed away? Should it be released or should it not?
Oh, that's a really good question, and I feel like it's a fairly common one. I don't think it like hurts anything to like leak it. I think it's a little more of a different story when we're talking about selling it, because if a great artist is like any other artist and everything they make, it's not as good as it could be. Like for every 100 songs, if you get 10 great ones, you're doing really well. So if you start releasing the stuff that was not released, it was probably like not released because it wasn't that good or not as good as like the bar had been set. And it kind of weakens the collection if it's like an official drop. But if it's just like a leak or a mixtape or something like that, then it's kind of under the pretense of, these weren't fully fleshed out. These weren't like the top level things. And then it's just cool to have that legacy happen.
And we asked this question because as a fan, you always want to hear more music, but at the end of the day, would the artist have actually been happy with what was put out? They really didn't have a say in it.
I mean, well, the other side of that is also just the actual how many songs an artist records. You've got some people that do like 3 songs a day, especially if it's in hip hop, where it's like you just throw verses on stuff and the beat's made. So it takes a lot less of like a process to have something listenable, and you can like rock shit quicker. So the like the idea of somebody having just like 100 records and they only get to put 10 out, that's kind of amazing that you can access those after the fact and like hear what they were working on and get a little bit of a insight to their world through that.
That's true. I actually haven't heard that answer yet, so that's nice on my end to hear that. It's refreshing. We've had this question compared to Kurt Cobain's journal and how that was released. So we've gotten very different answers for this question.
Yeah, I mean, art is so subjective. It's really hard to like compare. Whatever's way farther apart than apples and oranges,
That's true. So, on another note, if you can collaborate with any artist, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Oh my gosh, her I'm obsessed with right now. I just watched the performance on the tribute to Prince that they taped for the Grammys. Her performance on the Grammys was amazing. I saw her kill it at the BET Awards a couple years ago. She's just an amazing guitar player, piano player, singer, like star from head to toe.
That's so true. Her music's really good. I've been vibing with it a lot lately.
Oh, it's incredible. Doja Cat's the other like new artist that's just crushing it right now.
Mm-hmm. So what are you currently listening to?
That is always changing, but besides a lot of podcasts, I'm kind of just seeing like what the newest releases and like staying as aware as possible of like who's putting what out, and it's just so much music is coming out that it's a little overwhelming in a great way. But I think the favorite song like this last week was Russ and Rick Ross. I think their new record was like, that's like the main one that got my attention off this last Friday's drops. I mean, I find music so many different ways, but like Ryan, my bandmate, is very in tune with some just like unheard, like brand new stuff, and so he's always playing some crazy stuff. Just going through on Spotify alone and letting it kind of lead the journey can be fun. And then I've got my go-to throwback records that I've loved since I was 12 or 14. So it's always just a mix-up.
What is your favorite album in your like own personal collection?
Of all time, or right now, or
You can both.
man, I think one of the coolest albums ever, and it really was like a piece of me coming into my own musically, was the Gavin DeGraw stripped version of Chariot, where he played the whole thing live. Like, I think it was all one takes with his band he'd been on tour with, and just some of the coolest vocal recordings and moments are on that record. And it's really, I still listen to it like randomly, and I think it came out, I don't know, like 15 years ago or something.
So what is your opinion of streaming services like Spotify?
Honestly, I think it's really incredible for the side of us as artists, because we can drop music, honestly, like the second we finish it, to like we're doing with the Tangerine EP, and we're plotting this collection to like really show, where we are musically and stylistically and what the modern 2020 version of Hot Chelle is. But the freedom to do all of these things and in between is just really cool. It's kind of leads a lot more people to discover new artists. It takes away the kind of blocks and the gatekeepers from the new artists being able to get their stuff to the world. So it's a very refreshing and exciting time that's created. It's helped the music industry get back to, like a real business that can work and keep us making more music.
That's true. I kind of feel like Spotify initiated this whole like revival of music, at least for people my age. But I do miss sometimes like going to the store and like picking out the CDs, and I feel like we don't own anything tangible anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting because like Spotify for an artist, if you're doing it independently, pays actually pretty decently But as a songwriter, we do have a lot of like lobbying and political work to do to get those rights kind of modernized, which have been happening the last year or two, and it's really great to see. Yeah, there was like this huge music modernization act that was put into motion that kind of like helps try to make songwriters' rights, up to modern standards because they were invented in like the 20s or something crazy. Progress is always good, so it keeps everybody, creating and moving forward.
Okay, so what is one thing you would change about the music industry as it is today?
I that is a really interesting question. And if I could change one thing about the music industry, I wouldn't change it. I would just want to know how on earth the whole algorithmic thing happens, because it will play me stuff. It's exactly what I wanted to hear before I knew it. And that blows my mind. But the playlist game is like a really interesting and kind of like confusing thing. So I would more want to just understand the ins and outs of like how that even works. Yeah, there's some documentaries on that subject that are really cool and fascinating. It's like a new kind of insanity that is added to the music industry that's, it's like a code to crack, but definitely helps get artists like us out there and put us in front of people's ears and, kind of expose the fact that we've got a bunch of new music out since having taken a hiatus for like 5 years, and people are discovering it more literally by the day. And we can see all our stats go up in the Spotify artist app, and it's really cool to kind of see the song actually like just on this upwards incline for streaming and people like throwing it in their playlists and all that stuff. Great thing for us to have the love that we do from people who are listening to the stuff and streaming it. And we just got our first samples from our merch yesterday for all the new stuff. And the fact that we can like throw that up on Spotify or Instagram or, any of these things, and it has like that linked when you're listening to our music, or like tour dates are right below the actual songs. It's just a really cool thing to have that hubbed together and all like really easily accessible.
Yeah, like I love sharing music with my campus. As I don't know if you know, but School of Rock was actually filmed at my school, so.
Cool.
Yeah, we love talking about that, and everyone always forgets because it's the building we have class in. But it's nice to see like the interconnectedness in music and how we can make a difference through it.
100%.
So my next question for you is, can you tell me all about tour?
Tour. Oh my gosh, we are so excited. We had a 2 or 3 hour meeting yesterday, planning out the tour and figuring out the routing and like how to do the VIP packages, and it's gonna be a blast. We're doing, I think, 26, 27 shows, something like that. We're going out for about 6 weeks, starting on the West Coast, ending on the West Coast, but we'll like go all the way to New York and Boston. We are doing a really cool VIP program that has like, we're giving lanyards with like a custom backstage pass thing, signed posters, doing like a meet and greet, taking photos with the people. They get to come to a sound check and like get in the venue early. And so I'm really looking forward to kind of the closeness we'll be able to interact with fans throughout that. And being back on the road and like being back on the bus is going to be amazing, as well as just seeing cities that we love to run around and, hit our favorite spots in.
I love that. And I love how you talked about the interconnectedness with fans. Like, it's so important, I've noticed. And honestly, like, sound checks are amazing. I love sitting in on sound checks. They're so much fun.
Like, growing up, going to a sound check was the coolest thing ever, to see, like, the band interacting and, like, fixing tech problems. And you get to see this kind of, magic moment behind the curtain. And so we definitely wanted to give that with, like, the VIP package where, they get to see us messing around or like joking with songs or, stressing out over our in-ears sounding bad. Like anything and all, whatever could happen is kind of just like that awesome moment that you get to see with, most people not ever getting to see.
Hmm. And I always have like mad props for the sound guy. It's like such a stressful job.
Oh my gosh, yeah. If it wasn't a sound guy, it would be real interesting.
Yes, 100%. Do you have any pre-show rituals or superstitions before you perform?
We do like some vocal warm ups together. We'll do depending on the venue and the time and place. We've got good tequila around. We'll take a shot together, say a little prayer, squat up, and just kind of like get hyped before running on stage.
Nice. And you mentioned venues. What's your favorite venue that you've performed in?
I would say Festival Hall, I believe, in Melbourne, Australia, because it rumbled. Literally, like, there's a thing there where they stomp on the floors and they vibrate the place. And it felt like an earthquake until we figured out what was actually going on. But the crowd was incredible, like, super hype, and that just kind of made it unforgettable.
I love that. And what's your favorite state that you've been to?
Oh man, I mean, being from Nashville and living in LA, I just feel like I'm so close to home in these places that they're not even in the running. So New York is definitely just a place that every time I go, it feels exciting and energizing, and I always have fun.
Now, being from New York, I always forget the city exists because like it's so close. It's like, oh, it's right there. But it's sometimes nice to like go and be a tourist in my home and then like look up.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I am like that with Nashville. I love doing like a weird bunch of tourist moments as long as somebody else has never experienced it and I can kind of get like the first time feeling through them. The hometown tourist vibe is fun.
My next question for you is when you guys are driving in your van during touring, what are top three songs that you play, like your go-tos?
Oh, wow. That's always changing, but oh, I feel like my favorite song recently, and it's not even like the most recent release, but Nights Like These with Kehlani and Ty is the jam. So that one's up there. Um, there's always some new something that's like kind of permeating the whole band and like everybody's really into as a unit. I'm trying to think what that is. I think that we're gonna probably be able to tell you exactly what the three songs of the summer are after we've toured together for 6 weeks and been on the bus blasting whatever comes out.
I feel that. What musicians inspire you to become a better musician?
Um, I have to say Prince for sure. It's like one of my main influences growing up, but also I just watched this tribute concert to him and seeing these videos of him as like a 19-year-old, you know, superstar playing 23 or 28 instruments on his first album. Like, there's no one more musically insane than Prince.
That's true. He's an artist for multiple generations and always so relevant.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's crazy.
What is the craziest thing that's ever happened to you during tour?
I think the craziest thing that's ever happened was like we played this 7 a.m. show in someone's front yard in Australia. It was a radio contest, and they won like us performing and a petting zoo being brought in and like a taco truck. And it was just the weirdest bunch of stuff to have happen at 7 a.m. And these two girls walked up with like fur coats on, full makeup, like they'd clearly been out clubbing since the night before, and they invited us to like a place that night. And I somehow got the rest of the band to go, and we walked through this like empty part of town, dark streets, weird little alleys, and saw this red light over a door and walked into this like pretty much dead on a Great Gatsby scene with like champagne on trays and everyone's in black tuxedos and like evening gowns. And we had this incredible night that was so random and like borderline dangerous before we, we're actually in the door. But I think that was like one of the coolest experiences.
It's definitely a memorable one. And so I have one more question for you. What are your goals for the new decade of 2020?
Oh, the goals for 2020. For sure, the number one priority is just dropping so much music. We're putting out 4 new songs between now and tour, which starts March 12th. So they're going to come out like crazy, and we're going to keep dropping music after that. We've got, just this month, we've probably written 10 new songs. We've got a ton from last year that are finished up and ready to go. So I think getting new music to the fans and letting them have the stuff we've been teasing since we, dropped the hint that we were getting back together is going to be a blast for us. Having a great tour, seeing and meeting all the fans, hitting up some other countries. It's just all going to be a whirlwind of fun.
And is there anything you would like to tell our listeners and your fans?
Yes, go bother us on Instagram and Twitter and blast us on all your streaming services, whatever those are. And make sure you get tickets to the shows that we're going to go on tour and play for you, like March 12th through April 30th, I believe, are the dates. And it's nationwide, so, it'll be somewhere close. And there's the VIP package that's going to be just the way to see the show.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for talking to me. I really appreciate it. I'm hyped for the full release of the EP, and I can't wait to see what you guys do. So.
Me neither. Let's get it.
So thank you again. It really means a lot to me, especially because I grew up listening to your music, and here we are. So it's nice.
Oh my gosh, it's so awesome. Love it.
Okay, thank you again, and I hope you have a great day.
You too.
Bye.